You wake up with that quiet ache in your chest, the sense that you're already behind before the day has even begun. You scroll through endless images of people buying homes, starting companies, falling in love, traveling the world, and somewhere in the back of your mind a voice whispers, "You should be there by now." It doesn't matter how old you are, 22, 30, 45, the story feels the same. Life is slipping, others are advancing, and you are somehow late to a race you never even agreed to run. And yet, what if that race was never real? What if the timelines you measure yourself against were simply borrowed from the noise of society, from traditions, from checklists written long before you even knew who you were? You were told to have a career by a certain age, love by another, success by another still. But the universe does not deal in deadlines. Stars are born over millions of years. Rivers carve valleys not in days, but in centuries. Seeds do not bloom on command, and yet they bloom all the same. So why do you imagine that your path should unfold any faster than it does? The universe is not rushing you. It has never once whispered that you are late. That voice of urgency, of comparison, of pressure, that is not the universe. That is the echo of human fear. And maybe it's time to stop listening, because underneath all of it a gentler truth is waiting. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. And that brings us to the first illusion we need to untangle, the illusion of being behind. You've probably felt it at more times than you can count, the weight of quiet comparison pressing against your chest. Maybe it happens when you see a friend announce their promotion, or when another photo slides across your screen of someone standing in front of a house with new keys in hand, or a couple celebrating their engagement. You pause, smile for them, but underneath there's a sting, a whisper that says, "I should be further along by now." It's subtle, almost invisible, but it follows you into your evenings, into your sleep, into the moments when you're supposed to feel content. That whisper convinces you that life is a race, and that somehow, without even realizing it, you've fallen behind. But let's pause for a moment. Who told you that by 25 you should have a career perfectly mapped? Who said by 30 you should be married? By 35 you should own a home? By 40 you should have achieved stability? And by 50 you should be living without questions? These markers didn't come from the stars. They didn't come from the earth. They came from people, society, culture, generations before you, who themselves were following borrowed checklists. And so these timelines are passed down, whispered into classrooms, families, traditions, until they become invisible rules you never agreed to follow. But the truth is simple. The universe doesn't measure you by those standards. It doesn't keep score of your milestones. It moves in seasons, in cycles, in rhythms that cannot be rushed. A star does not apologize for taking millions of years to burn into brilliance. A tree does not feel shame for needing decades to reach its full height. And yet here you are, questioning yourself for not having everything figured out in a handful of years. Do you see how strange that is? The feeling of being behind is not reality. It is a story told by comparison. And the moment you recognize it as a story, you begin to free yourself. You start to see that there is no late or early in becoming who you are. There is only your pace, your path, your unfolding. And yet, even when we know this, even when we remind ourselves that the universe does not rush, there is still that restless voice inside, the one that pushes, that urges, that demands results now. It is the voice of human urgency, an urgency that convinces you that if you're not sprinting, you're standing still. And this is where the trap begins. If this content is resonating with you, consider subscribing. I make videos that help you see the world and yourself more clearly. Thank you. Urgency has become the quiet religion of our time. Everywhere you look, speed is glorified. Fast food, fast money, fast fame, fast answers. You're told to move quickly before you miss your chance, to hustle harder, to never stop grinding. And at first it feels intoxicating, doesn't it? The idea that if you just move faster than everyone else, you'll somehow outpace your doubts, your fears, your emptiness. But urgency is a clever illusion. It promises you fulfillment, while quietly draining the life out of you. Think about the times you've rushed yourself into decisions. You've said yes to things you didn't want, simply because you feared missing out. You've thrown yourself into work, relationships, or goals, not because they truly aligned with your heart, but because you thought you were running out of time. And what happens when you rush? You burn out. You create progress that looks good on the surface but feels shallow underneath. You might achieve something, but it doesn't satisfy because it was built on panic, not presence. The universe has never moved like this. Look at the night sky. Galaxies form across billions of years. Stars are born in silence, nurtured by forces invisible to the human eye. A mountain range takes centuries of pressure to rise. The ocean shapes a coastline slowly, wave by wave. And yet here we are, losing sleep over weeks, months, and years, thinking that if life doesn't unfold by the timeline in our heads, we've failed. Do you see the mismatch? You are a child of the universe, yet you hold yourself to a schedule it never created. Urgency convinces you that your worth is tied to speed. But have you noticed? The faster you move, the more you crave the next thing. The more you force, the more dissatisfied you become. Because urgency can never give you peace, it only teaches you to chase, and every chase leaves you emptier than the last. Here's the quiet truth. Rushing doesn't bring you closer to life, it pushes you further away from it. When you rush, you force life into shapes it was never meant to take. You pluck the fruit before it's ripe. You pull open the petals of a flower before it has bloomed. You confuse movement with meaning. And in doing so, you lose the beauty of what is unfolding naturally. So the question becomes, what if you stopped forcing? What if, instead of rushing outcomes, you trusted the slow, unseen process of becoming? Because there is a difference between forcing growth and allowing it. And that is where the real shift begins. There's a difference between becoming and forcing, and you've probably felt it without having the words to describe it. Forcing feels like exhaustion. It feels like trying to squeeze life into a mold that doesn't quite fit. You push for answers, demand results, chase people, cling to outcomes. And even if you manage to grasp what you wanted, it never feels the way you imagined. Because forcing is rooted in fear. The fear of being left behind, the fear of being overlooked, the fear that if you don't make it happen right now, it will slip away forever. Becoming, on the other hand, feels entirely different. It is not frantic. It is not desperate. It is a quiet unfolding. Think of a seed buried in the soil. You could stand over it, tapping your foot, begging it to hurry. You could even try to force the petals open before their time, but doing so would only destroy what was meant to bloom. Growth has its own rhythm. The seed already carries the blueprint of the flower within it. All it needs is nourishment, patience, and time. And the same is true for you. You already hold within you the potential for what you're becoming. The more you force it, the more you disrupt the natural process. The more you allow, the more it begins to reveal itself. So much of our suffering comes from believing we must make life happen. But what if life was less about controlling and more about aligning? What if everything you long for, peace, love, purpose, success, emerges not by being chased, but by being lived into? Becoming is about alignment with who you already are and who you are quietly growing into. It's about small, steady steps. A choice here, a boundary there, a moment of courage in the middle of doubt. It doesn't look dramatic, but over time, it transforms everything. And here is the irony. When you stop forcing, life often unfolds faster than you ever imagined, not because you rushed, but because you stopped resisting. You became fertile ground for what was already trying to grow within you. So the invitation is this: stop tearing at the petals of your own becoming. Instead, trust the timing. Trust the slow, subtle rhythm that is shaping you into more than you can see right now. Because patience is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is a deeper kind of strength, a quiet form of power. And that brings us to the heart of it, the truth about patience and why it is the universe's greatest secret. Patience is often misunderstood. You've been told it means waiting quietly, as if life is keeping you on hold, as if patience is nothing more than standing still while everyone else moves ahead. But that is not patience. That is resignation. True patience is different. It is not passive. It is powerful. It is the ability to trust that life unfolds in its own rhythm, and that nothing meant for you can ever truly pass you by. Think of the ocean. Its tides move with perfect precision, not a second too soon, not a second too late. Think of the stars, burning for billions of years before their light ever reached your eyes tonight. Nothing in nature is in a rush, and yet everything arrives exactly when it should. The universe is not hurried, and still, it is endlessly abundant. So why do you believe your life must be rushed to be meaningful? Why do you treat your path as though it must keep up with a stopwatch? Patience is not about doing nothing. It is about doing the right thing at the right time. It is about tending to the small steps, the daily habits, the quiet choices, and letting them accumulate into something extraordinary. It's about knowing that your worth does not depend on speed, but on depth. What grows slowly often grows strong. What takes time often lasts. And here's the truth you may not have let yourself believe. Patience is a declaration of self-trust. When you allow yourself to move at your own pace, you are saying, I believe in my timing. I believe in my path. That is not weakness. It is sovereignty. It is the quiet refusal to let fear dictate the rhythm of your life. So here is the invitation. Instead of asking, when will it happen? Ask, who am I becoming while I wait? Instead of forcing doors open, let them open when they are ready, and notice how much lighter it feels to walk through them without struggle. The universe doesn't rush, and neither should you. If these words resonated with you, take a moment to breathe them in and carry them with you. And when you're ready, share in the comments. I trust the timing of my life. Not for me, but for yourself. As a quiet affirmation, a promise you make to your own soul. Because every time you choose trust over fear, patience over panic, you align yourself with the same wisdom that governs the stars. And in that alignment, your life will unfold exactly as it's meant to.